My name's Karen Valby. I'm the author of Welcome to Utopia, Notes from a Small Town, and I'm delighted to be here in Round Rock at the New Neighbors Luncheon. I've come to discuss my book, which is now out in paperback, and it's about a couple years I spent in the small town of Utopia, Texas, which is about 2.5 hours southwest of here. And really it's just trying to capture a small town in a moment of transition. And I spent 2 years hanging out in this town that's about a half-mile stretch of Main Street, and I would go every morning for coffee at the general store with all the old-timers, the only girl in the store. This was really set your alarm for 5 o'clock in the morning as soon as the weather report ends, drive down Main Street, meet in the back of the store, and have instant coffee. And those old guys would never say they gossiped, but this was sort of their chance to tell tall tales and tease me and, gnash their teeth over politics. And honestly, it was as fun and witty of a way to start a day as there ever was. And I still can't bring myself to buy expensive coffee because the best coffee I ever had was at the general store. The state recently suggested that they were going to put sidewalks into the town, and it had created such an uproar of people thinking like this is going to become like some tourist town with these sidewalks, that at the community meeting where they talked about putting the sidewalks, my friend said somebody got so mad he almost brought out a shotgun, like he was so offended by the idea of sidewalks. When I first discovered Utopia, I had come from Manhattan, actually. I had gone down to Utopia for a magazine article. I had to get my driver's license. I show up in Utopia. I was there to report on a town that had just gotten access to popular culture. They had just gotten real TV reception in the last decade, and they have no bookstores or movie theaters in town. And for decades, for as long as they could remember, their only pop culture was the one AM radio station and this shelf of videotapes for rent down at the one gas station. And now all of a sudden all the kids are on MySpace and Facebook, and people aren't meeting on the porch anymore to talk. They were watching American Idol like everybody else in America, and it just really is about how this culture had suddenly invaded Utopia like it has everywhere. So anyway, so I'm walking up the grass into town, and these pickup trucks are sort of slowing down, looking at me, and I realized, well, I don't think people walk in small towns. And I actually for a minute felt like I look like a streetwalker in this place. They'd say, "Where are you from?" I'd say, "New York," and they'd say, "Well, I'm so sorry." Let's get a rope. I can't tell you how many times I heard that joke. Let's get a rope. But so anyway, I showed up to the school. I thought that would be a good place to start. And the superintendent sat down with me for about an hour and a half, and he said, if you really want to talk to somebody, you should try to find Grant. He just graduated from our school. And he's our first kid that's going to an Ivy League school. He had just gotten a full ride to Yale, and so I thought he sounded like a great kid to try to meet. I went across the street to the general store for a soda, and while I'm in line, this kid is talking to the kid working the cash register, and he starts talking about leaving for school, and I said, by any chance, are you Grant? And he said, yeah, nice to meet you. And like sort of the whole 4 days were like that. Anytime somebody said, you should meet Ralph, or you should meet John, there they were 5 steps in front of you. It was this very, very intimate little place where everything was sort of out in the open, and you couldn't miss anybody, and everybody knew everybody. And really, it's just, it's a portrait of Americana. It's a fading way of life, and I miss those people dearly. And it's a true story, and a lot of the characters are probably similar to those you'd find in the back of old Round Rock institutions, people that are kind of slowly trying to adjust to modernity, but holding on to an old lifestyle. So, like I said, I'm so glad to be here in Round Rock, and if you're interested in the book, it's on Amazon and at your local Barnes & Noble. Thanks.